Policy and Resources meeting here in the Town Hall. And first of all, can I take any apologies? I have at this point Josephine as an apology. Any others? Okay, David?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm not sure if Shirley is online. If she's not, can I apologise for her, please?
Okay, thank you. Any others? No? Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to our minutes of the 15th of October, and for accuracy first.
Chair,
They have all been dealt with, so they are all
just signed.
they're all signed. Okay, yep, I forgot that. So, declarations of interest. Mark?
Thank you, Chair. It's the second item of correspondence, order 6.3, please.
Okay, thank you. Any further declarations? Nobody online now. Okay. Moving on to our reports for decision then, and Corporate Service and Governance Directorate Reports 4.1. Paper A. Louise.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So there are two responses for decision. The first draft response is on the Department for Communities consultation on disability and work, the strategy for Northern Ireland. So our response welcomes the commitment to securing better employment outcomes for disabled people, people with health conditions and people who are neurodivergent. The focus on educational transitions and, importantly, initiatives to support businesses to create jobs. Importantly, the draft asks the DFC to consider the delivery within rural areas and the need for outcomes to be measured by council area to ensure the district experiences growth. The second draft response is on the local government draft code of audit. And members are reminded that the council powers have been delegated to this item. So the draft response supports the continued use of a principles-based approach, and it welcomes a visual overview of for transparency of the public audit arrangements, and requests the consideration of training sessions for the audit office from the audit office prior to implementation. Item 3. So there are a number of items for information. 3.1. 4 items which have been submitted since the last P&R, and just to note the draft response, the officer response submitted on the Public Office Accountability Bill is at Appendix 3, and that bill is currently at committee stage in the House of Commons. At 3.2, 2 consultations referred to R&C, 1 to Environmental Services, and at 3.3, a number of items for noting. So the recommendation is that the Council approve the draft responses to be submitted in relation to the response to the Disability and Work Strategy, the Audit Office Local Government Draft Code of Audit, and the Council notes the information presented under 3.1 and 3.2 and noting at 3.3. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Louise. Noeline?
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thanks for that. I just wanted to come in and a couple of comments on the disability and work strategy. I think it's a good response, and I'm particularly glad that you've highlighted some of the notable gaps in the impact assessments, specifically the minority, ethnic and migrant people of minority, ethnic and migrant backgrounds, and also the intersection of disability with sexual orientation and gender identity, which is underexplored despite known inequalities. Coming back to that, just on page 3, under the sub-outcomes of the strategy, which says to increase disability employment for females and males, just under that intersection highlighting, could that be changed? I know it's not as, but could it be highlighted? Why don't they just put all working age adults? So then it's totally inclusive. Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to note.
Okay, and propose the recommendations as well. Thanks. Dermot?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I'm happy to second the consultation response, and again, just to say well done on that response, because I've read the disability at work strategy, and it's glaringly missing any reference to rural disabilities, and particularly around rural transport, because it's all right supporting people to get into work, but if they can't get to work, well then that's no good. So, but there was one question I had. There's quite a large employment gap here in terms of the number of people that are of disabilities who are in work in the north. But I would suspect it's probably even higher again here because of our rural issues in transport. Is that data collated locally here to find out to what extent we have the employment gap with disabled people? If that could be found out and presented to us at some stage, that would be very welcome. Thank you.
Yep, we can look into that. Okay, and you're noting the extra information as well in your second and noting of the extra information there. Are we all agreed, members? Okay, thank you. Moving on to 4.2 to consider paper B, financial account.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. The report tonight, members, includes management accounts for the 6-month period ending September 2025, Treasury Management and Potential Indicator Outturn report for the same period, and an update from Land and Property Services. It's a quarterly update in relation to the actual penny product for 25-26 and the 6-monthly update from the Department for Communities for the D-rating grant for 25-26. Under Section 2, members, noting the management accounts for the 6 months has been prepared following a fairly extensive detailed review line by line of budgets at the 6-month period. So that's taking a review of budgets profiled and reviewing the profile to see whether it's adequate to meet the needs of the services over the next couple of months, or over the next 6 months rather. So total expenditure to be, the net expenditure, members, for the period amounted to £20,766,404 out of a budget profiled of £22,052,670. Total expenditure to be financed amounted to £21,766,404 against a profile budget funding of £23,052,670. At the 6-month stage, members, it is possible to seek veerment between cost centres or to make recommendation for transfer to council reserves to meet future spend, particularly in relation to supporting the council's medium-term financial plan. Members, at section 2.14 and 2.15, I have included the council proposal which came from the April special council meeting, and it is recommended, members, that 350,000 is transferred to the council's capital fund. In section 2.2, members, is the detailed summary of the Treasury Management Indicator report, and members, just to note that there are no emerging issues. The issues considered within that report are the factions and the actual indicator calculations at section 2.2. There just identify the key Treasury position of the council at September 2025. Noting, members, as well then the actual penny product for 25-26. At this stage, members, LPS has advised a potential additional positive sum of 410,000. As usual, members, that is subject to change between now and the end of the year as properties move in and out of the rates base for valuation purposes and for billing purposes. And then the second quarter D-rating grant, members, provided by the Department for Communities is indicating a small settlement at this point of £26,903, which is again subject to change between now and year end. Members, subject to any queries, the recommendations are included in section 9.1, that the management accounts for the period 30th September and any associated veerments between cost codes and or transfer to reserves are approved. The transfer of 350,000 to the capital fund is approved, and approval sought for the Treasury Management and Potential Indicator Outturn report for the same period, and that the council notes the second quarter actual penny product and D-rating grants for 25-26. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. And we have Debbie.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just on 2 1.5. I don't think we will be supporting that actual point because it's saying here that the capital fund in 25-26 financial year and that a report is to be put back and it will be transferred to council capital fund. But Sinn Féin brought a extensive proposal where up to £300,000 can go out to people that really need help over the winter with fuel, with food, children in schools with their breakfast clubs and other areas. And so I don't think we can support this because although some councillors have decided that those people shouldn't be getting that money, hopefully it will pass through our next council meeting. So we can't actually support that point. Other than that, I'm happy enough to note
And
the report.
propose the,
And thanks to the girls for all that work that's been put into it. Yeah.
okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Debbie. Mark?
Thank you, Chair, and thanks, Catherine, for the very extensive report as always. Chair, and it's in a similar vein. Whenever I looked at these papers, I was really quite surprised to see that recommendation within tonight's paper, because as far as I understand it, even the timings of the issuing of this paper, it is clear that this is not the will of the council to allocate that 350,000 in the capital funds. So we weren't going to support it, and thankfully it sounds like others tonight aren't going to support it either. So it's to lodge that, because I thought we had quite an extensive debate last week. It's clear it's not the will of the council, and at the time and Councillor Warrington beside me speculated that in the likely event of this money not being spent, and it was clear from day one that this money was never going to be spent, that it was simply going to be pumped and buried effectively in the capital fund, given the sheer scale of the capital fund. So I welcome the fact that it seems tonight that hopefully this money won't be going to it. If nothing else, I find it actually a little bit disrespectful that there was such a discussion and a direction of travel.
Mark,
last night.
can I just stop you there? What I want to do just is to bring Alison in just on a procedural point here, and maybe that'll sort of.
Perfect. And if I could come back in then, Chair.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. And it's just to clarify specifically the point that both members have raised. So, Chair, it would be the norm to this committee that we would be bringing a report on the outturn of the 6-month accounts, excuse me, and any associated veerments within policy. Certainly, we did have a motion at the council meeting, and obviously there was both the amendment and subsequent amendment. However, that has been called in. So the legal position is the council has not taken any decision in relation to veerments. So it is appropriate that that comes before the committee this evening. Obviously, members can take a view, as has been expressed, not to support that recommendation. And in any event, the debate on the motion at the council meeting in December is likely to supersede because of its prominence on the agenda. But it is entirely appropriate for the paper to come forward in this way and for the recommendation to come forward, and equally for members then to form their view on the recommendation.
Okay. Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Chair. And I suppose I would just adopt a contrary opinion. I mean, I don't think it is appropriate given the will of the council. But moving on, Chair, and also even on the fact of that, I appreciate we had brought the motion that was deliverable this. Well, now I appreciate large elements of the Sinn Féin amendment weren't deliverable, but I appreciate it's all still up in the air. But even had it not been called in, I still don't think it would have been appropriate for this recommendation to have been made. If Chair, just moving on, can I make a quick comment?
Hold on, just
Again, Chair, it's just for accuracy. If the motion hadn't been called in, the decision would have been acted, and therefore there would have been no subsequent recommendation coming to this committee because the council would have taken a decision. The council has not taken a decision on the matter.
The council chair is going to take a decision one way or the other at the upcoming December meeting.
It hasn't at this
I appreciate it hasn't, but there is no need for this recommendation to have come forward.
So procedurally, that's where we are at this point.
But procedurally, as councillors or as members, we all know a decision will be taken at the next monthly meeting. But moving on, Chair, the capital programme, Catherine, I see, so there's two elements, and I appreciate that the funding within the management accounts within this table, presumably that's all revenue funding. So there is an underspend within the capital programme of just over 20%. Which is quite significant at this time of year. So it would be to get clarity on that. And then looking at the other paper, Chair, the 6 monthly the more significant 6-monthly return. I see that we have spent 3.55 million against the profiled full year equivalent of 31.25 million. So it would be to get clarity in terms of where we are with expenditure and trajectory of expenditure on our capital programme, because I don't know if it's true or not, so I'll ask the question tonight, because I'm being told by various people that we're already behind, not only behind schedule, but behind budget on the delivery of large capital projects, primarily the Fermanagh Lakeland Forum. So it would be useful to get clarity, Chair, on what exactly that underspend in the capital programme is, and then a broader comment on where we are with that significant Fermanagh Lakeland Forum project, whether it is envisaged we will spend the allocated sum within the capital budget this year. Thank you.
Chair, thank you, and thank you, Member, for the queries. So the capital programme listed within the management accounts is the operational side of rolling out the capital programme, and I suppose there has been a variance consistently over the past number of months, and it's really in relation to vacant posts within that service area itself. In relation to the capital spend, and yes, Member has referred to the Appendix 2, which is the Treasury Management Report, and yes, at the 6-month stage, the spend is 3.5 million. Members, the estimates workshop next Monday night, the 17th, I suppose we're working towards giving an iteration and an update on the 25-26 capital plan as part of the development of the 26-27 capital plan. So work is underway within the capital programme department to actually bring that together for Monday night's meeting, and that information will be available if available on the night after the meeting as well. We'll provide that level of detail and that information. But it is noted that I suppose in the majority there are quite a number of capital programmes by virtue of individual reasons and rationales within each programme that just maybe aren't at the level of anticipated spend at the 6-month stage. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Catherine.
Chair, I might just one supplementary in relation to the Lakeland Forum. Members will be aware there was a very comprehensive report on the project brought to last month's Regeneration and Community Committee, and certainly I'm not aware, nor colleagues, of any significant concerns either on programme spend or profile.
Okay, thanks, Alison. Seamus?
Thank you. I suppose an organisation the size of Fermanagh District Council probably will always have an underspend, because it would be prudent to, as I think it was said here, that the last month's meeting was that with maybe job vacancies, the different things that budgets has to be left aside for to fill. And I suppose I was making a comparison there. I was just doing a quick Google search, and like if we're comparing like with like, the Department of Health in 2024 had a 60 million underspend. In 23 it was a 50 million underspend. In 22 it was a 60 million underspend. And then in 2018 and 17 it was down around 20 million underspend. And that, I don't know what happened in between times that it got so bad, but it goes to show you as an underspend and all. And I presume that underspend would be to take up, to leave some wiggle room for unexpected things to happen and that. So if you're comparing the likes of that, that's where we are, this underspends. And I suppose if we were going to way over spending, I think would be starting to really panic here, and we'd be, I know I'd be asking a lot more questions if we were spending by beyond our means.
Okay, thanks, Seamus. And so do I have, you have proposed, Debbie, with the exception of the transfer of the 350,000 to the capital fund.
Second.
And Eddie has seconded that. Are we all agreed there? Okay, so just as a matter of enlightenment for the chair, where does the 350 sit then when
Yep, so Chair, well, no decision has been taken on the matter, so therefore at the council meeting, we obviously will have the report of the call-in, and the council will reconsider the decision taken at the November council meeting, which was essentially to approve this amended motion.
So everything sits.
Everything pauses, yes, yes.
Okay, that's what I want. Eddie?
Thanks, Chair. And kind of following on from that, Alison, just to kind of clarify, once that decision gets finalised at the next full council meeting, is there any plans for a full readout of that £350,000 to be presented at the next Polish Resource meeting in December, or at the end of this month, sorry, I should say? Just I'm conscious then of time-wise, when we would kind of see how exactly that money is going to be siphoned out.
So Chair, the motion as amended detailed a number of categories for spend, and most of it was quite prescriptive actually. So I would be working on the basis that if that is the outcome, or indeed if the original motion unadopted or unamended is adopted, we will be proceeding to action that. It wouldn't, unless there is a specific requirement around reporting included in the amendment, which is not the case at the moment. It was in the original motion, and then in the amendment to the first amendment to the motion, we would just be proceeding to deliver. There would be, I think, certainly one area which would be the off-street car parking that won't be able to be achieved, just given the timescale. But all other matters we would be able to progress within the time frame. Now, I would emphasise we would then do a normal financial report as part of that, but I wouldn't anticipate that coming in December.
And I'm right in saying, I think from memory, that with the money that had already been allocated for the various areas, any spend really would be below the £30,000 threshold anyway, so it wouldn't need reported. Is that correct? And then the parking as well. I'm trying to get my head around the parking. Spoke for £1 for 3 hours, essentially. But are there many areas around Enniskillen, for example, in Omagh that would be more? I mean, my thought process, most of them would have really only been £1.20 for the 3 hours anyway. Is that correct?
So, sorry, Chair, in relation to I maybe misinterpreted the question. So, we would have budget lines for most of the areas that have been identified. I think the only exception would be regarding the school's breakfast club, and what we would have done in the past would have utilised a community services cost code. So the accounting piece would be that we would wire the money across the relevant budget headings and then proceed to delivery. In relation to the largest item, which would have been the sort of welfare support programme, that would be really using our existing structures, so that the council have already committed to that, and it's just the scale of the funding would differ. In relation to the off-street car parking, it's not something that I suppose we were asked to investigate feasibility on, but I could certainly have that information for the next meeting. There are a number of car parks across the district that would be 50p an hour, so you would be getting 3 hours for 2 under the motion as amended.
Okay. Debbie?
Thanks, Chair. Well, I suppose I don't really need to come back in again, really, but it's just that, just to say that the reason that we chose those particular projects was because the work has already been done. So the council can do that quick, and there really is no need for today.
Okay, guys, I'm not opening a discussion on that, on the whole thing. Save that for December. Mark?
Thank you, Chair. And it's just a question of, really a question or a point of clarification, which would be useful from the Chief Executive. Chair, whenever I brought a proposal, I think it was perhaps to this committee 2 years ago, around this time 2 years ago, on Christmas car parking, it was deemed immediately that it wasn't applicable or it wasn't valid, because I was told quite clearly that you have to have a robust, definitive cost of how much this is going to cost. So a council isn't able to take a decision unless it knows how much it's going to cost. So I would question, based on what was said to me 2 years ago, how that decision was taken last week, or how that decision taken last week was even valid, and how that was allowed to be taken without the same advice being provided last week that was provided to me 2 years ago, because it is quite clear, and that advice is still on the record.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think potentially, Chair, a few matters are being conflated, so I'll maybe separate them out. So in relation to any council decision that we take, that would be in the context of financial information, or if something is financially feasible or otherwise. The motion that was presented, both the original motion and then the amendments, would not actually meet the guidance that the council has adopted for its revised approach to motions, because it would normally be dealt with through committee. It is not, however, contrary to standing orders for the council to take a decision on a motion, and I think it was under standing orders that you questioned it last week, Councillor Ovens. The motion has been called in on the basis of 41(1)(a), which is the council did not fully consider the facts. I imagine one of the areas that may be addressed by the proposers of the call-in is specifically regarding the financial implications. So there is no provision in standing orders to stop a motion being considered on the basis of the financial information. In the context of the decision overall, what we would be doing on the basis of the information approved, or the amendment to the motion that was approved, the council has financial provision of £350,000. We would certainly have been highlighting in relation particularly to car parking. It was not something that we had tested the feasibility of. All other matters were relatively routine expenditure, and the council had sufficient scope to proceed. So the advice around the financial feasibility of decisions remains. Standing orders does not preclude consideration of a motion on the basis of financial information. However, our guidance that the council adopted the last month actually would have meant the motion as submitted would be considered through a committee rather than through council.
Okay, thanks for the clarification, Alison. And we're moving on to 4.3 and to consider a report on procurement and tenders.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Members, the report tonight includes 2 tenders to be issued, 4 contracts to be extended. They're detailed on sections 2.1 and 2.2. The use of a procurement framework, 2.3, and then the latter of the report, members, is noting, I think we have 5 tenders that have been awarded under delegated authority. And subject to any queries, members, the recommendations are detailed at section 9.1 and 9.2 of the report.
Thanks, Catherine. If we have no questions, can I have a proposer and seconder to approve? David?
Thank you, Chair, and I'm quite happy to propose the recommendation. Just in relation to this festive lighting, do we currently fund any of the villages anymore for street or Christmas lighting? Or I know that would have been in a previous term, but I haven't just seen it recently. I wonder, was there a decision taken not to do that, or I obviously was maybe here?
No, we do. But we do it by way of grant aid support as opposed to the council proceeding to install the lights. We do continue to provide grants to community groups, including for festive lighting, and also the insurance arrangements around those.
Okay, have a seconder? Eddie, thank you. All agreed, members? Thank you. Moving to 4.4, consider a report on staff matters. Velma?
Thank you, Chair. So 3 items for information tonight, Chair. The first relates to an annual review with the NILGOS. We are required to annually submit a covenant to NILGOS. In between the 3 yearly reviews, the triennial assessment was conducted in 2024. So this year is the first year of the annual review within that triennial period, after the triennial review. So that was submitted, and we submitted along with that statement of accounts. So that has all been submitted now to NILGOS, thus for noting. Second item, also pension related, relates to the Northern Ireland Civil Service Pension Scheme. So we have an annual employer's fee for the administration of that scheme, of which we still have 21 employees who are members, and the fee in relation to that is £4,059.23. And the third item for information, Chair, is in relation to the employee recognition event and the Chair's Christmas reception, which will be held on the 27th of November at 3 p.m. in Struhl Arts Centre. And any elected member who wishes to attend, if they could, inform the Member Services Officer just in relation to collecting numbers. So the recommendations are to note the NILGOS, the completion of the NILGOS employer annual update, the payment of the civil service pension scheme's employer centralisation fee, and the arrangements for the employee recognition event and Chair's Christmas reception.
Okay, thanks, Thelma. Have I got proposed and seconded to note? Elaine and Dermot, thank you. All agreed? Thank you, members. Moving to 5 now, and Chief Executive's Department reports, and 5.1.
Okay, Chair, thank you. A few disparate items in this report, members, so I'll just take you through. Firstly is the establishment of the Irish Unity Working Group, and this follows on from the Council's adoption of the motion in relation to the establishment of such a group. So I've set out in the report, really as with all Council working groups, the membership and the general meeting arrangements would be a matter for the Council. All of our other groups are cross-party in nature, and the numbers generally vary from 6 to 10. Our subcommittees would be larger than that. I've also highlighted, Chair, that working groups don't have decision-making powers, and the relevant reporting committee for this group would be to Policy and Resources, and 2 neighbouring councils have previously adopted similar motions and have also indicated their willingness to share learnings from their work to date. I've then just referred to the Councillor Development Charter, which is now, we're part of the NILGA work on this, and it's now overdue for reassessment and renewal. And it's proposed, Chair, that we would re-engage with NILGA on this. We do already have an elected member working group to guide the process, and that we would convene that in the first instance. On the ICLRD research, Chair, we had a briefing from the research team, and that is now working towards its conclusion. It would be my hope and expectation that that will be launched, the webinar, before the end of this month. However, in the briefing, it was suggested by members that we would also proceed to include an in-person dissemination event, and the team are certainly happy and willing to do that. The Slieve Bay Partnership, just to note, at the October Council meeting, it was agreed that discussions would take place between the unionist representatives from Erne East to confirm a replacement for Councillor McPhillips. And following those discussions, Councillor Robinson has advised that he will be participating. And then lastly, Chair, at the October meeting, the revised social media policy was presented and approved, subject to reconsideration of the use of the term negative. So we've taken some advice on that, and that word has now been replaced with harmful. So the recommendations are as presented, Chair, and happy to take any questions.
Okay, thanks, Alison. And Debbie?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, happy to propose the report. And can I just clarify, Alison, you don't need the numbers of a working group now. You're actually going to do a report and bring it back for us to agree. What way round did I pick that? Did I obviously wrong?
No, so sorry, Chair. It would be my hope that this evening the committee would indicate its preference for the size of the working group, and if nominations were available this evening, or if not, I would take those obviously at the December Council meeting. It's just so that we would be able to proceed to convene. We wouldn't normally impose, if you like, a composition that would normally come just from discussion at committee in terms of the size of the group.
Well, in that case, Chair, although here in the report is a lower number, but I was going to request that 2 from each party and the 2 independents, and then 5 maybe from Sinn Féin, which would that be too big? And then nominations to come if every party can think who they would like. And the other thing that has come up with discussions is that I'm not sure how often it would meet, whether it'd be every other month or once every 3 months or something like that, but that it would be an evening meeting because so many people are either have other commitments, caring or work or otherwise. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Deb. And Mark?
Thank you, Chair. And Alison, it's really just, it's a query under 2.2, the Councillor Development Charter. I mean, firstly, it would be useful to know and I know we have been told this previously, but I just can't recall it exactly how much we're already paying Nilga. Because, I mean, looking at that, instinctively, I have no real issue with the council development charter. But again, I just say there's another £2,500 that this council probably doesn't need to be spending, particularly for an organisation that we already send significant funding to. And from my opinion, for a very limited benefit. I mean, I know as a councillor, I don't really get any or see any benefit or output from Nilga apart from meetings about meetings sometimes. So, Chair, it would be useful just to get a little bit of clarity on that in terms of whether we're absolutely obligated to issue that. And then, Chair, just if I could get a little bit of latitude, because I know that this report it's described as miscellaneous. So if I could just add in one little thing, and it's something that whenever I've asked questions previously, the Chief Executive has advised that the best thing would be to submit freedom of information requests. So I've been doing that on a number of issues. But, Chair, just from a reflection as a member of the council, I do think this council is quite slow at responding to FOIs. I mean, I submitted one in July, of which I'm still awaiting a response, a relatively straightforward one. Originally, I was told, you're not getting the information. I went back and said, why am I not getting the information? I've been told, well, okay, you will get the information, but it's now the middle of November and there's still nothing forthcoming. Okay. I know that there is a target date coming up soon, so we'll see on that. But, Chair, it's a broader point on FOIs. I was wondering, Chair, if possible, could we get a report to perhaps even next month's committee meeting in terms of how many FOIs are being tabled, how many are being answered within the 20 days, how many are being extended? I note significant press interest previously and in recent days and weeks on an ICO ruling. I mean, the front page of a local paper last week made quite a serious allegation that this council destroyed records the same day the ICO ordered them to be protected. So it would be useful, Chair, then on that particular point, if we could get an update from the Chair as well, because I would find that quite are very, very concerning.
Okay, that can be done, and I'm sure. Alison?
Sorry, Chair, I'll address hopefully the various queries. So firstly, in relation to the elected member charter, it's entirely discretionary. So not all 11 councils choose to pursue the charter. So that really is a matter for members. Essentially, what Nilga have done in the past, they will come, some members may have been involved in the previous process, and it's really assessing the frameworks in place for members to engage on training if they wish to do so, attend events and to engage with members on that side. I'll defer, my recollection, I think it's about £60,000, £55,000 per annum that we give Nilga. So this would be over and above that and is entirely discretionary. I'd maybe take a slightly different view, Chair, in how Councillor Ovens has reported previous advice. Certainly, we have been asked some information. For some information requests, what I have advised is that as officers, we report to committees. When members are requesting certain types of information, it is appropriate for it to be dealt with under the context of access to information and FOI requests. We do so, and certainly there's not a difficulty in bringing a report on the number of FOIs that are received and the nature of them. I don't know the detail of the one that Councillor Ovens is referencing in terms of a July request. So I don't think I have directed in that regard. I do know I have on certain occasions suggested it's appropriate for the matters to come in through FOI at ATI, and I would stand by that. In relation, Chair, to the recent media coverage, I'm certainly happy that we can pick up on that under confidential, and the reason I'm saying that is I am aware there is a live investigation underway by the ICO, and I think it would be inappropriate for me to comment publicly, but obviously I would share the concern and happy that we deal with that later in the meeting.
Okay, thank you, Alison. Okay, so Debbie has proposed, and the number there you have given 5 from Sinn Féin, 2 from each of the other parties. Have I a seconder then for the report and that as a size of the committee? Dermot, a second. Are we all agreed? Okay, thank you, members. Moving to 5.2 then, from minutes from Rural Affairs Subcommittee.
Yes, Chair, thank you. Really just for noting, they are the minutes of the subcommittee from the 16th of September, please.
Okay. Can I have a proposal and second to note the minutes of the subcommittee? Councillor Green and
Mr. McCann.
McGrath. Then, thank you. All agreed? Thank you. Okay, we're moving to correspondence, 6.1 then.
Thank you, Chair. The first, we have a few items from the Department for Communities. The first is just the update from the department in relation to the councillors' consolidated allowance circular 1725. Just for noting, Chair.
Okay, can I have a proposal and seconder to note? Thank you, Nolene and Elaine.
Thanks, Chair. The second item is just the formal notification from the department of the designation of the local government auditor. So this, in essence, the current local government auditor, Colette Kane, will be retiring shortly. So Brian O'Neill is the new designated local government auditor.
To note, proposal and seconder, please. Dermot, thank you. And the seconder. Elaine, thank you. Okay, moving to 613.
Yeah, Chair, we'll probably just note for accuracy, this is from the Department of Finance as opposed to the Department for Communities, but it's just in relation to our representations regarding the Small Business Rate Relief Scheme and the Minister's response, and also, I suppose, the work that's underway at the moment in relation to reviews of these interventions.
Okay. David?
Thank you, Chair, and I suppose thanks for the response. I think we're as far as we're going to go with that at the minute, so we'll just like propose noting. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, David. Have a seconder? Dermot, thank you. All agreed? Okay.
And thanks, Chair, just for noting again, it's the October update from NILGA, just in terms of activities undertaken.
Okay, proposed and seconded. Nolene, thank you. And the seconder. Elaine, thank you. Grant. And then
Yeah, Chair, we have 4 items of other correspondence, please, just to bring to members' attention. The first is from the Department for Communities, and this is something that actually this committee has discussed in the past. So it's from the Minister confirming his intention to proceed now with the dissolution of the Local Government Staff Commission, and that will take effect from the 31st of March 2027. And really, I suppose the Minister's, there was previously a board that had been established to guide this process, and the Minister's indicating his intention now to reconvene, and is also obviously sharing the same correspondence with other relevant parties. Just for information, Chair.
okay, to note. Dermot, thank you. And the seconder. It's not that I'm leaving anybody if they wish to second online out. Colette, thank you. That's on our next item.
Yes, so Chair, this is an update from SOAS, and this members will recall at the council meeting we had made reference, or through the chair, Councillor McElduff had indicated his willingness to act as an independent chair for a meeting between SOAS and the Trust. So this correspondence from the Trust is advising us that the Trust have indicated their view that the Councillor McElduff would not be an independent chair, and therefore they wouldn't accept that as one of the provisions for the meeting. They, I think, are willing to utilise the venue, so that's obviously still available. And there appears also to be some disagreement from the Trust in relation to the agenda items and also the streaming of the meeting. So I know it's under consideration now by SOAS in terms of their own committee as to how they wish to proceed, but they just did want to bring us an update given the matter had been discussed last week.
Okay. Dermot?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's just in reference to the letter from SOAS there. It's disappointing that the Western Trust have taken such a standoffish approach, given all the last number of months and their role in the consultation and their ongoing failure to bring in the emergency general surgery back. you think they would have a little bit of humility and perhaps do all that they could to actually let the people know what's going on. But not surprising, I have to say, that they've again taken this really problematic and adversarial approach, to use the words of SOAS there, to say that the chair would not be an independent chair. I think that's a bit of an affront, to be honest. So I hope that this meeting can go ahead, because it needs to go ahead, but we need to have, a little bit of respect and humility from the Western Trust, I think. So that's all, Chair. Happy to propose the correspondence.
Okay. And have a seconder? Seamus, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The next item is an invitation from NILGA for the Chair and relevant officers to attend the pay briefing, and the details are set out within the correspondence, Chair. We will check the Chair's availability for that, and we'll be bringing a report back then in due course to Policy and Resources.
So far noting. Debbie, thank you. And Victor, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And the last item of correspondence is, it was laid before Parliament yesterday, so it's the report of the Chief Electoral Officer for Northern Ireland 2024-25. And again, we've been asked to bring that to the attention of all councillors.
Okay. Proposed and second the noting. Debbie, thank you. And Dermot, thank you. Okay.
That concludes correspondence.
Concludes the correspondence. Okay. There's no urgent or relevant business.
I just had.
Oh, you have one. That's right. Yeah.
Sorry, Chair, thank you. We have received today a request from OMA Pride, and it's in relation to Trans Remembrance Day, which is due to take place on the 20th of November. The request is that we illuminate our civic buildings on that evening, and the event is free in the council schedule if members are willing for us to proceed. And the intention is also to use the Oasis Plaza, but we would report that through Environmental Services subsequently, Chair.
Okay. Thanks, Alison. Dermot?
Yeah, Chair, I'm happy to propose that, but I just want to ask, because we're so close, that's only next week, isn't it? Will that be ratified in time?
So it would be if the committee was in agreement, Chair, that we would proceed without the formal ratification of the council.
Okay, well, I'm happy to propose.
And Nolan?
Yeah, happy to second that.
Okay. Are we all agreed, members? Thank you. Okay, that's all then we have. So going to move into confidential. So we'll get And when we're out. Okay, Alison, give us an update.
Thank you, Chair. While in committee, the Council considered the report on confidential staff matters and noted the various updates, and also received an update in relation to an ongoing investigation, Chair, and noted that update also.
Okay, can I have a proposal and seconder for that update? Debbie and Victor. Thank you. Okay, members, that concludes our business. So thank you all, and safe home to those that are here, and